Hey, what is going on, guys? It is Young here, and today I'm back in a Fortnite video, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks on how to win more games very easily here in Season 10. I'm going to be talking about everything you guys need to know to get a lot of wins very fast, so definitely stay to the end of the video. And before we get into the video, I have a V-Buck giveaway. If you guys want a chance to win some free V-Bucks, all you guys have to do is to drop a like on the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel and also subscribe to my second channel. The link for that will be in the description or the pinned comment. Turn on my post notifications and as well comment down below your Xbox gamer tag, your PSN gamer tag, or Epic account. And as well, if you guys would like to support me in the item shop, all you guys have to do is go over to the item shop, go down to support a creator, type in my code is Young Humor, and you guys will have me added and supported as a creator. I really do appreciate all you guys who do add me. And alright guys, let's go right to the video. Alright, so here in this gameplay, I actually have about 3 gameplays, each of which that I wanted, and so I'm going to be showing those all in this video, and I wanted to talk through these gameplays, and as well just give you guys some very general tips, and just my rule of thumbs when it comes to getting a lot of wins very easily, because there's quite a few specific things that I do if I want to be able to win a lot of games and also win a lot of games in a row and also very easily. There's going to be kind of, a go-to formula when it comes to going for these type of things that I use every single game. That's just going to allow me to get a lot of wins much easier than if I just go into the game completely blinded and kind of just hoping that I get a bunch of wins in a row. So the first thing, of course, that I want to start off and talk about is if you want to go for a lot of wins, you pretty much have to play for those wins. And what I mean by that, so if you want to go for a lot of wins in a row, or just go for a lot, or just win more games in Fortnite, the trade-off you have to do is you can't be going for as many clips, maybe as many kills, because if you want to go for those high kill games, and I would say high kills anything above, I would say maybe like 14. So if you're going for anything above 14 kills, you can easily win a lot of games in a row, getting 10 kills every single game, maybe even 11. But I would say above 14 kills is where it starts to get a little bit difficult if you're playing that type of playstyle. When you're getting those many kills, you definitely have to play a lot faster, which means you're not going to have enough time to loot and get as much material as you need every single fight that's going to allow you to win as many games. So if you want to be able to win a lot more games very easily, you have to play a little bit slower than if you're that type of player to go for a lot of kills, because I'm the type of player that likes to go for as many kills as possible, and of course that's going to in turn make me lose a little bit more games than if I played maybe just a little bit slower, got all of my heals up, got off my mats up before I challenged every fight, and just something like that really makes a huge difference. So if you are planning to go for a lot of wins and you're specifically playing for those wins, I would say the next thing that you have to do pretty much every single time. This is something that screws me up the most of the time, because I would be off spawn, and sometimes I leave spawn with shield, but most of the time I do. Maybe I'll have 25 shield, 50 shield, whatever the case may be, but I'm not carrying any extra shield. I would say that is probably one of the number one things you guys have to do. So after you clear out the spawn area before you challenge the next fight, there's going to be a lot of locations around the map you just have to get very used to, especially like in a place like Salty. You do have in between Salty and Retail, you have those I think it's like 4 or so abandoned houses that have a ton of chests. So if you ever want to, after you clear out Salty, if that's where you choose to land, you can go over to the abandoned houses and pick up extra shield if you guys don't already have it. And as well, when it comes to mat count, one thing that I have to sacrifice when going for these high kill games is I have to sacrifice the amount of materials that I have, because I need to be pushing people a lot faster. And generally speaking, towards the end of the game, if I'm able to kill a team or a couple of players, I should be very high on mats, because a lot of people that you kill towards the end of the game are going to have a lot of materials. But the trade-off is during that fight, you're going to be the one with a lot less materials. But of course, after the fight, it's going to be all good because you're going to get the materials that they have. But that is going to increase the chance of you losing the game, because during that fight, you need, during the fight to get the mats from the player, you do have to challenge that player with not as many materials as you would like. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have like 100 materials, but you're probably only going to have maybe like 300 or so. For me, I'd say a good amount of materials to have is about 500. I'd say about 500 is good because you never know if you run into a player who maybe gets that first shot and hits you for quite a bit of damage, or you run into the player that just is just a constant build player, so they're constantly just building up and up. They're just cranking 90s as fast as possible. You definitely have those type of players in game all the time, but my rule of thumb is to at least carry about 500 materials on you at all times. Otherwise, I would play a little bit slower just to get off your heels, and as you can see, the slower you play, the less kills you're going to get. So that's why I'm saying that if you go above like 14 kills, you're probably not going to be winning a lot of games consistently. But in my opinion, I've been able to go on huge win streaks, getting like 10 kills, 8 kills, maybe even 11, 12. I had some win streaks where I had a crazy amount of kills and I was just going off, but that's kind of the exception, not the rule. So when going for these wins, you definitely, as much as possible, want to be as prepared as possible going into each and every fight, having your mats up, having your HP up, and playing very, very smart. And if you're ever at a late part in the game where you don't have as many heals, maybe you play even slower and wait for another team to start fighting, and then you go in third party and maybe snag up the extra materials laying around, or snag up the extra minis, because there is a crazy amount of minis just laying on the ground, especially after a fight, because a lot of people already have max minis, and then there's some extra laying around. So a lot of times after you kill teams, there's going to be plenty of minis or small shields left over, and that's just one thing you can generally count on. So I think it's really important that you try to stack as many campfires as possible, because when it comes to minis, a lot of times you are going to have maxed out, or at least going to have 50 shield with you pretty much at all times during the game. That should be something that really isn't that big of an issue, but having above 150 HP and having some sort of heals when it comes to the HP part, so campfires, can be a really smart thing to stack during the game. And as far as approaching gunfights, you always want to make sure that you give yourself the best possible chance to win, so always challenging and having an advantage. And just for an example, say you're around a building, you always want to be the first one to go on top of the building if you know there's a guy around it, because if you know a guy's in the building, the best way to go about it is, especially if you don't really know where he is, you don't really want to just go into the building. The best way to go about it is to go from the top, so going through the roof and then work your way down, because otherwise what can happen is you could try to challenge at the bottom, and then you found the players in the middle, and then you pretty much just gave them an advantage because you gave them height and you gave them a way better angle on you. So you always want to make sure that you give yourself the best possible opportunity to win the fight, because that's really the whole goal of gunfights, and the whole goal of winning is not even just winning, is you want to be able to win the fights that you're winning as easy as possible. You don't want to have a bunch of fights that you have to really try for. You want to give yourself the most unfair and best chance of winning that fight as possible. So having enough materials, having the best loot, having as much shield as possible, and also having the best position as possible. All those things in mind, you're probably gonna win the gunfight so much easier, unless the other player is really, really smart. And in that case, they can try to find a way to try to get shots on you from a different angle and things like that. But generally speaking, if you have two players who are at the exact same skill, and one player has more materials, one player has better loot, the other player has better positioning, that player is obviously going to be winning the fight much more easier. So it's always better to improve as much as possible. So improve your building, improve your aim, improve your decision making. But the absolute easiest way, without having to really get better or really try any or work on aim or anything like that, is just to have really good positioning and just giving yourself the best possible advantage in the fight. Just that alone is going to up your chances of winning gunfights and up your chances of winning so many more games in a row, just because you don't have to worry about outbuilding, out aiming, and just having the best loot possible, because you're going to play a little bit slower and you're going to grab everything that you need, and you're going to be able to win the fights that you're in that much easier, just because you gave yourself the best possible advantage that you could during that fight. So winning the gunfight is just going to be super easy, and you don't have to worry about anything like that. And so I always recommend playing a little bit slower when it comes to challenging gunfights, because you always want to challenge the the easiest challenges. You don't want to challenge a guy who's already on crazy high ground if you don't have to, because then you have to worry about, high ground retakes, getting up there, losing a ton of mats, maybe possibly losing a lot of HP, different things like that. So the best way to go about it is to just challenge gunfights that you can win pretty easily, and sometimes of course you're going to get caught off guard, but for the most part you can challenge the people who you want to challenge. And once you figure out the people that you want to challenge, you want to try to end the gunfight as fast as possible, because the longer you're in the gunfight, the higher chance you have of getting third-partied. And with that being said, that's wrap up for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys liked it, make sure you guys do drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on my post notifications so you guys are notified for every single new video. And alright guys, I'll see you next video.